The first part of this tutorial will show you how to package a print to protect it and present it so it can be sold. So this is an example of just a print without any backing. It works for this size, but once you go bigger, I recommend some kind of backing board or sheet. It can be your chipboard from the back of your newsprint or foam core. I've decided to use foam core. So for this print right here especially, it's very big. So not only do I need to protect it, but I need to back it. So if it's being put in a store, it can stand upright or withstand any wear and tear. So this tutorial is all on a budget. I went to the dollar store and got dollar foam core. Now, if you have a little bit more money, I recommend a higher end foam core. But again, if you're on a budget, dollar store is great for these materials. This is a poly bag that I got from clearbags.com. And what's nice about it is it fully protects my print and it has this adhesive. Once my print's in there, I'll just flap it over and it's nicely presented. There are alternative ways where you can wrap it in acetate or cellophane. I find that this is the most efficient and professional way to present your work. So when you go to buy your poly bags, make sure your print will fit inside of it. So this is a generic 18 by 24 inch sheet of paper. Always confirm it with a ruler though. And on clear bags, you just want to get a bag that's slightly bigger. So when I measure this, yep, it's like 18.5 by a little over 24. That's perfect because I can also control the height based on this flap here. Your bag needs to be slightly bigger than your print to allow for the backing board, and you don't want to force your print in there. You want it to easily be taken out or placed inside. So my plastic bag, and measure a little inside because remember this, depending on the thickness of your backing board, you're going to need it to expand. So knowing that it's pretty thick, I'm going to do about 18.25 and see how that works. My paper's 24, so I'm going to also do 24.25. I recommend doing a test of one to get your measurements and everything before cutting all of your boards down. So I'm going to measure. Because I went cheap, my corners are all dinged up. So I'm going to cut away all of the edges to get a nice square edge. I'm using my mat here to make sure my board is square. Make sure your X-Acto knife is sharp and that you're using a lot of care and patience when cutting. Defer to several passes over trying to cut the board all at once. So now I'll go ahead and cut the 18.25, again marking my 18.25 spot and carefully trimming. Do as many passes as needed. Gently, don't force your knife through until you're sure you've cut through all the foam core. Again, this will ensure a nice clean edge. This takes practice. So now I have my board. I'll get rid of my extra pieces. Make sure my print fits. It does, fits nicely. Now if you wanted to put some adhesive on the back of it, you could, but really the clear bag is going to keep it all together, so I don't recommend it. And then with the print, let's first test that our foam core will fit. So gently slide it in. It should slide in easily, you shouldn't have to force it. This is nice and snug. You can see, oh, it's perfect. Wonderful. If you can slide your print in then, you can do it now. Now I'm just gonna slide my print in like that. And so if you want, you can put your business card on the back, or you can put any stickers or something. It's always nice to put a little extra in there, a little note to who bought it. And then lastly, peel back the adhesive. Make sure this is tight and fold it over. And now you have beautifully presented print. Again, the most expensive part is going to be the foam core and the clear bag. So if you can buy in bulk, go for it. You can get these bags, you know, in quantities of 50 to 100. What's nice about these bags too is if your print's slightly smaller, you just have to fold this over a little bit more. But again, your key thing here is to present your work to the consumer in a nice way, right? You want to make it look as professional as possible, and I did this on a very small budget. The next thing will be is if you want to sell your work online. So if you want to ship your work in a tube or flat, you got a few things you want to be concerned with. First, protecting your print. Don't assume that your mail carrier is going to be as careful as you are with your work. It's going to go through a lot in its journey, so we want to ensure that it's protected. The other thing you need to worry about is weight. You don't want your print to weigh too much, because then you're going to accrue a higher cost. The most efficient and affordable way is a tube. Benefits: lightweight, easy to package. The disadvantages of it is you're sending work that needs to be rolled up. Now with screen prints, not a big deal. It will flatten out, but some other prints, you know, you might want to take care of. But we'll start with the tube. I'm going to take my print. Now, I have a dowel that I'm going to use for this as well, and I'll show you why. But I have my clear bag. You're still going to use your clear bag. And then you want to make sure your mailing tube will fit your print. Obviously, we don't want to put it in this way, so we're going to roll it this way. You want to make sure your print will fit inside the tube. I can always cut this a little bit short if I want to, but you always want to make sure it's at least 1 inch or 2 inches bigger on each side. So I will not back my print. I'm just going to place it right inside the poly bag like so. And then this is where this comes in. So what I'm going to do, and you don't need to do this step, but this will help you roll the print so that it fits perfectly inside of your tube. So I'm just using the dowel to roll my print off. It also creates consistency if you're doing a ton of these. Gently pull out. What I do is I kind of lighten up the tension just a little bit because I don't need it to be so tight. Straighten out the poly bag like so. So it should look like this. It looks very professional too. Almost looks like a machine did it, right? And then roll this onto the clear. So now you have your poster ready to go. You can remove your caps and place it in. Again, I would cut it a little bit so it's not so big. Stuff it with any kind of newsprint or just so it doesn't move around too much. And that's good. Then you're good to go. So that's the most efficient, affordable way to ship your work. So when they get it, you can even write a note that says how to open it, but like you can make a little tab that says open here. So when they open it, all they need to do is peel this back and then just let it flatten out for a few days. And that's how to ship with a tube. When you close your tube with the print inside, tape around the edge to make sure no moisture gets inside. That's crucial, especially in Florida. So lastly, I'm going to show you how to mail your print flat. And I'm going to use a little bit smaller print here than I showed before. So if I don't want to roll my print, I want to ship it flat. Works well for sizes like this. There are very sturdy envelopes you can put these in. But if you don't have those envelopes because they're a little pricey, you can go back to the foam core method and stick them between foam core. Now this is key for weight. You don't want your package to be too heavy, so again, that's why foam core is better for this. So I'm gonna need to sandwich my print so that's protected. Like I said before, don't assume that the mail carrier is going to place it every time. They might throw it. It might ding on its side. So you want to sandwich your print, but you want to leave room. So I would leave at least 2 inches around your print. So measure 2, 2, 2 inches, almost 2 inches, and 2 inches, yep. So with 2 inches around, this will equal out to 16 inches wide. To be on the safe side, I recommend 3, but for this 2 inches is fine. As long as I'm patient with my cutting, I can actually cut both sheets at the same time. There we go, save those. And then I'll cut and trim the height. Just like that. If you have a poly bag like this, you can just carefully tape it inside of your envelope, like so. Now, think about the person, though, that's opening this. Take your tape and notch it with a little tab like we do for our screens, so that when they go to open it, all they have to do is peel the tab, right, just like so. But so you can essentially fasten your whole print using a poly bag to protect it from humidity on all 4 sides. This process doesn't rely on using a poly bag, it's just a benefit. Then you'll sandwich your prints together, like so. Do the test that this doesn't move around at all, so like this. And then temporarily fix it together with just a few pieces of painter's tape until you can start with your clear tape to package it for shipment. Before we get to that, I'm going to show you the other method if you don't have a clear plastic sheet. Instead, you'll package it in a paper envelope that's made of archival drawing paper or butcher paper, something cheap and thin, but you don't want to use newsprint for this. You're going to need to cut enough so that the whole print can be wrapped in the paper. Lay your print with at least 3 inches around on 3 sides, and then enough to fold the paper on the right side, like so. I'm going to square out and trim my paper here so that it'll be presented nicely, not too crooked. Then go ahead and place your print in the middle of your paper, like so, and you're going to proceed with wrapping it like a gift. Fold the first flap over right against the print edge here. Make sure you're not accidentally folding your print. Push the print against the fold, and then proceed with folding the other side. Now leave a small gap here, just in case you don't want to accidentally fold your print.
Your print can move around in this. It's okay, it's not going to go too far. And then carefully crease the paper again, open it up, and you'll proceed with cutting the paper so you can fold the bottom and the top. Again, carefully make sure your print is against the folds. And now we need to trim the paper. You don't want to just fold this flap over like that. It'll become too bulky and could mess up your print in shipment. So instead, we're going to actually unfold this, and you're going to take your X-Acto knife and trim just a little bit at an angle so that you now have a flap that'll be folded over like so. As you can see, I used a slight angle. This will just allow for the fold to not encroach too much upon the other side of the sheet. Same thing here. And then proceed with doing this with the large panels. Again, if you try to keep it 90 degrees, there's likely a chance they're going to overlap and create too much bulk. So it's better to have a slight angle. Proceed with the final fold. And then this is the only part you're going to need to tape, is right here, this flap here. Now you'll need to place it on your foam core. Lay out a few strips of tape. These are what you're going to use to actually apply your envelope to the foam core. Now I want my presentation to look really nice, so I lay them out and I trim them so that I don't have a torn edge. I have a sharp, clean edge. I can also control the lengths of tape so that they all look consistent. You don't have to do this step, but if you're sending these to a client or sending these to someone that you really want to impress, it's all about presentation. So I'm just doing a visual measurement to make sure my tape doesn't extend past my envelope. You want it to be shorter than your envelope slightly, and you're just taping the envelope to the foam core. I'm not touching the print anymore, I'm just taping the envelope. You can use double-sided tape if you want, but this is just the easiest way to make sure your print stays safe and protected. I'm trimming the tape just a little bit shorter for the sides, but make sure the entire print is fastened inside the foam core. So I don't really like this cut here, so what I'm going to do is just make a slight trim so it looks more presentable. And then I'll fold this over and tab these tapes so that they can be easily pulled up to retrieve the print. And there you go. So my print's fastened so that when someone needs to get inside, all they have to do is pull the tabs and they can easily pull out the print. This can be reused as well, so whoever gets it can reuse it, or, if you get it back, you can reuse it for another shipment. Now again, carefully use your blue tape to close it, and now grab your clear tape. This you're going to use to fasten the entire foam core together and protect the inside from any humidity. Now for the sake of the demo, I'm using a opaque tape, but you can use clear packaging tape for this, attach the foam core together. So this is going to close all the gap between all four sides to prevent humidity and to protect the print inside. An extra measure could be to wrap it in a plastic, but this should work. Do this to all four sides, and then you'll go ahead and reinforce it by taping over this on both the front and back. So this is first closing off the gap to block anything from getting inside, And then you'll go ahead all the way around and tape. This also covers the corners or any other area that you might have missed when taping. As you can see here, it's a pretty efficient way to package your print and protect it while it's being shipped. Again, you'll be using clear tape for this, not duct tape. You'll need to label it and then put some warnings on it, like how to open it is always helpful. So I tell the person that you'll just cut along the seam here. And then you might want to indicate a few other things, like the top part so that they don't stack things on top of it, or that they don't bend it. And so when they go to open this, they'll just cut right along that tape seam here, and they'll have access to the print you packaged. And there you go. Perfect.